It is time for some more Rwby. To Miles and Carrie's credit, they've both pretty much admitted that they're learning on the job when it comes to this whole writing thing. And that's fine, but what confuses me is when they say things like this.
One of the scariest things for us with Volume 4 was the fact that our girls are separated. We essentially have 4 separate storylines that we have to jump back and forth between, Game of Thrones style.
Jumping back and forth Game of Thrones style. Wow, that's an interesting choice. It'd be like me waking up tomorrow and saying, you know what? I want to learn how to paint. I think I'll recreate the Mona Lisa. Chances are it's not gonna work. Case in point, the last 2 volumes of Rwby. I mean, they jump from storyline to storyline with almost no regard for the viewer. Consider Volume 5, Chapter 9. We spent an agonizing 9 minutes with Watts, Vernal, Raven, Emerald, and Mercury at the bandit camp with Cinder.
I need time to think this over.
Then we jump to Menagerie for a fight with all of Blake's characters in her arc.
Hurry!
Mid-fight, we jump back over to Raven and Vernal at the bandit camp.
Anything else?
Then we jump to Mistral for 20 fucking seconds.
Oz needs to talk to you.
Then we jump back to Menagerie just to end on a cliffhanger. What a absolute mess of a chapter. If you are admittedly learning on the job, you should be trying to make things easier for yourself. Simplify things, condense the story. You can do that with the cast and with the locale. How? Well, for one, entire chapters need to take place in one location. Now that Team Rwby is back together, that should be a simple fix. Now let's talk about this cast of characters. There's too many. Too many for them to handle if I'm being completely honest. Instead of worrying about bringing in new characters, they should be focusing on trimming down the cast for Volume 6. Just hear me out here. At the end of Volume 5, we are led to believe that our heroes are now heading toward Atlas.
We must get the lab to Atlas.
We spent all that time walking to Mistral, and after 1 volume, we're already leaving. I'm not even going to touch that right now. Here are all the characters that were even remotely important in the last 2 volumes. Now, let's get rid of the characters that are either dead or already in Atlas. Okay, so who's heading north? First things first. Sorry, Shermie, but Ilya's got no business going to Atlas. She doesn't know jack shit about the relics. She owes it to Gira, she needs to stay back and help him lead the White Fang. So she stays along with Milf's cat. Hey son, guess what? You're not going anywhere. You need to stay back and help the Belladonnas too. And maybe learn a little bit about the history of your people, because it's clear that Shade Academy is the worst school in all of Remnant.
So they gave us a terrible island in the corner of Remnant to try and shut us up.
Besides, you have your own team. Now, it's time to trigger some people. Hey Thora, guess what? You're not going to Atlas. That's right, I said it. Both you and Ren are staying. Can we be honest about something? Now that Team Rwby is back, there's nothing for them to do. We're not in school anymore and they're not really needed. After reflecting on what happened to his hometown, Ren will go back and help the people of Shion or something. And Nora will tag along. Honestly, I don't really care why they stay in Anima, just make them stay. Hey John, guess what? You're not going to Atlas. Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you have 7 sisters? Don't you think it's time you go visit them? Go show them how strong you've become. Goodbye. Now, does this mean we won't see these characters at all in Volume 6? Not necessarily. You can invest 1 chapter to the characters who are not going, but every other chapter should be all about where Team Rwby is located. No more jumping around from storyline to storyline. Okay, let's speed through the rest of this. Salem ain't going nowhere. Raven, we got enough of your nonsense in the last volume. I don't give a shit about Hazel anymore. Adam, no. Emerald, no. Mercury, no. Cinder,
Hello, boys and girls.
hell no. Tyrion or Watts? Pick one. I don't need both. I think it makes more sense for Watts to go, so I'll go with him. Boom. Here are the characters that will be making the trip to Atlas. Now let's bring back in the folks that are already there. Guys, I don't mind seeing Klein and Whitley in Volume 6, but I don't need to hear from them. They're out of here. Okay, so we've cut out the fluff for Volume 6. This reduction should really help them keep a tight script and allow them to focus on character moments. Hopefully, it also leads to less nonsensical fights. Okay, before we go any further, I gotta talk about Winter. Winter has got to show up in Volume 6. I really like what we've gotten from her. She hasn't been ruined. I like her relationship with Weiss. I like Elizabeth Maxwell.
One trick that I use is I come up with a phrase or a small monologue that typifies the character for me, like their mindset.
Please, Miles and Carrie, take your time and don't waste this character's potential. She could really be good. Now, I'm not foolish enough to think that Miles and Carrie aren't going to introduce new characters in Volume 6. We'll probably get the Winter Maiden. Hey, it may even be cool to see Penny's creator as long as it makes sense. Any additional minor characters need to maintain a low profile. Focus on Team Rwby and the characters you already have. There is a lot of work that needs to be done with Ruby Rose and Oscar in particular. Bottom line, each character needs something to do. It needs to be interesting to a certain degree. You don't want bland and boring characters hogging the spotlight. Cut down the cast, stick to one story arc, and make us care. That's how I feel, at least. Maybe I'm off my hinges. What do you guys think? Am I wrong? Do we need even more characters? Did I pick the wrong ones to leave out? Is leaving out Nora blasphemy? Am I nothing but another mouthpiece ranting about Rwby while offering no interesting insight? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch this, guys. I'm still trying to figure this whole YouTube thing out. Still don't really know what I'm doing. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Got more shit coming. And I'll see you in the comment section.